Good afternoon. I'm here today with Corporal Brian Becerra of the Rhode Island State Police Computer Crimes Unit. My name is Timothy Sanzi. I'm the Major Detective Commander for the Rhode Island State Police. Last Friday afternoon, the Rhode Island State Police, along with the FBI and the Pawtucket Police Department, investigated a virtual kidnapping that occurred in the state of Rhode Island. We are happy to report that nobody was injured during this scam. However, it was stressful and upsetting to the victims involved. This investigation is currently ongoing as it relates to the tracking of communications and those associated devices utilized during this scam. It's imperative to note that law enforcement and consumer protection groups remain vigilant, as should the public, on a variety of scams that are orchestrated from within and outside the United States. Offenders continue to utilize the internet and social media in order to mine data and identify potential targets in order to deploy an array of scams. And most of those are in that packet that we handed out. The informational packet that we are handing out today describes some of the scams that most of you are aware of. However, the recent kidnapping scam is the first that we're aware of in Rhode Island. And as always, we want to educate, but we also continue to encourage members of the public to contact law enforcement if they fall prey to one of these types of scams. The vast majority of these types of operations are random throughout the United States, but it is important to understand that many of these crimes go unreported. Since the person who gets scammed is embarrassed to disclose to others that they fell for something like this, or they made payments connected to this type of hoax. As I stated before, there are guidelines with regards to these scams. However, we are not mandating how a person should react to one of these calls if they get them. They're typically done through a telephone call, a voice internet protocol, a VoIP, which is a network that a call is made into a network and is transferred to the target of that scam. So we do have some information. We're working with federal agencies and local agencies that some of these groups operate overseas. We believe that the group in reference to last Friday may have operated from Mexico. What was interesting about that investigation was that two different people were called from the same family, and it was disturbing and stressful for that family. And we want to advise all communities, all members of every community, that this is a threat out there. There are some steps that you can take in order to attempt to identify. If you don't recognize the number when you get a call, these calls are very, very intense, and they do put stress on the person who answers that call. A lot of times there'll be a call, it's a number that the person doesn't identify with. They can't understand where it's a series of numbers, and they can't readily identify that call. But at the same time, when the caller does pick up, it's difficult to terminate that call because of the intensity of the person on the other end. We have also received certain types of calls where there's people in the background discussing and saying information about your loved one or pretending to be your loved one. We would reference that people should ask for a photo or to speak with that person. And if that isn't complied with, we would probably be advisable to hang up and contact police. We would ask people to contact police regardless of whether they stay on the phone or they get off the phone. And it's just something that's been going on for several years. However, with the latest one last Friday, it's a bit of a different tactic that was a bit foreign to us here at the State Police. We want to make sure people are aware that this is also out there. And in that packet, there's also other types that are more traditional that folks are aware of, especially ones that target the elderly.
This one in particular was new because it was, what made it new from the, your son's locked up in Costa Rica, you need to bail him out. What made this one in Pawtucket on Friday?
Well, that they were two simultaneously affecting the same family. And it's a bit of a different strategy that we're aware of. Usually it's one call into one person with one type of scam, and this was unique in that nature.
So these two calls appeared to be coordinated. They were referencing the same person? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Was there an exchange of money in this case?
There was.
Can you tell us anything else about that?
I don't really want to get into the details of how much or how that happened, but as is typical with the majority of these, there's either a wire transfer request or a credit request or a literal bank withdrawal and mail the money to a certain location. So, and usually all of those, we would encourage people not to engage in that based on the information that they're being provided. Attempt to verify the information they're being provided, either by asking to speak with a person, get a picture of that person, or terminate the call and contact law enforcement, give them the information that you've been asked so we can respond to it in the best manner that we can immediately.
To be clear, nobody was hurt, nobody had actually.
That's correct. Nobody was injured. Nobody was injured in this incident, but it was a stressful and disturbing thing for the family. And there was a good amount of resources applied to this for several hours to ensure everyone was safe.
I think we've heard of many cases of attempts in situations like this. Is this the first time you're saying you're aware of that there's actually been an exchange of money? Is that what makes this?
No, we get a lot of these scams. Like there's a variety of them that are in that packet that we've distributed. And a lot of them, people exchange monies. And that's why a lot of them, they go they're not reported to police because of the embarrassment of falling for something like this. They're very common. They target a lot of different groups. I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
Is there technology in the works as far as trying to combat this issue?
Brian?
Not that we're aware of it. The difficulty is that it's basically occurs across the internet. So to try and regulate the calls that come across the internet using the voice over IP, that technology is not there yet. But it's more important for the victim to be conscientious of the call and to take the steps that the major had said.
So that's how it's done, using the internet phones?
Right. Well, they mine off the internet for targets, and a lot of it's done through social media. And a lot of it's done randomly.
Just a phone call on a hard line?
Correct, robocalling randomly. So.
Mm-hmm. Is it more common for hard lines, or is it?
No, I believe today, because the majority of people use cellular data, that it's more prevalent with cell phones. But it could easily be used in a hard line as well.
Anything specific about these other types of scams you have in here in the packet that you want to touch on, or let people know things to be aware of?
I mean, I think the information in there, and that's why we wanted to reach out to the media, just to get this information out. A lot of it's already been out there, and we also do a lot of educational information through the state police in a lot of different areas. I know there's a consumer advocacy groups that this falls under as well throughout the state. But again, a lot of this information is out there, and we just want to reinforce that this is a prevalent situation through the communities, and this latest situation we just want to refresh it and make sure that people are aware of it. Okay.